Hello there, my name's Annette with Sunbeam Fabric Art. Welcome to my channel. I just finished a video in which I cut bolts of fabric into pre-cut sizes. I had quite a few bits left over from this cutting down and I did not want to waste them, so they did go in my scrap bin, but I kind of wanted to use this black and white in a single project. So here you see I'm kind of rummaging around in my bin trying to find all those little bits that I trimmed off when I made the bolt pre-cuts. I began stacking up these white scraps into similar lengths. A lot of them were exactly the same because of the way I cut my bolts and cut those pre-cut fabrics. So here you see I'm just picking up a strip and laying it down next to something that's a similar size. Once I was done with the stack of white strips, I started on the stack that was left over from the bolt of black fabric. I pulled out my stack of leftover 10-inch squares and I pulled out some of the black background ones because I didn't have as much black leftover fabric as I did white, because I had 13 yards of white and only 10 yards of black that I cut down. So just took the time to cut some random strips out of these 10-inch squares and I added those to my black pile. Speaking of leftovers, I'm also going to use up some leftover bobbins. I'm really not worried about the color of the thread. Now it's time to pick a white and a black of similar length and sew them together. You might notice I am trying to alternate the solid black and the pattern black. After chain piecing a few strips, I remembered I have a 1/4 inch sewing machine foot that helps me sew a 1/4 inch seam. I put that on my sewing machine and that made the rest of this project a lot easier. A lot of my little white strips have the selvage edge, and here I am not worried about the selvage. I know you're not supposed to sew with your selvage into projects, but I really didn't want to throw these strips away. So I let the little, I guess, raggedy edge go underneath that 1/4 inch line so that my actual 1/4 inch seam was on real fabric, not on that, I don't know how to describe it, just kind of a raggedy threaded edge. Here's a little bit of a closer look of what I'm talking about here. I continued chain piecing my white strips together with my colored fabric. At the end of that first round, I separated my chains and then I started sewing 2 pieces together with 2 other pieces and continued this process. At this point in the process, I was thinking what I was going to do was sew this long piece of fabric together, and then I thought I might cut out blocks. Now I'm ready to sew my very last chain. Once your little strip gets long enough, when you sew 2 pieces together, you will be able to flip around the tail end of your strip and attach the next strip without having to go through the process again. Once I'm at the end of units to stitch on, all I have to do is cut my thread and I've got my long strip completed. I got out my tape measure and I wanted to see how long my total strip was. At this point, we have reached 20 feet in length, and we're still going. With just a couple of more measurements, that added another 8 feet to the project, so 25 feet plus 3, that's 28 total feet of strip, and it's about 10 inches wide. I wanted to press this entire strip nice and flat before I started working with it or trying to cut anything out. You can see here I'm just pressing it all one direction. It does take a little bit of time to press a 28-foot long strip, but as soon as I was done with the pressing, I just got rid of the pressing mat, pulled out the cutting mat, and just trimmed one side of this long strip. At this point, I decided I was just going to sew strips together to make a quilt with rows of strips. What I decided to do here was to fold my entire strip in half, and I am just going to stitch the two ends of my fold together, right sides together, and cut. When I get to the fold, I'm just going to cut at the bottom. Here we are approaching the fold. I sewed all the way to the end, and then I just cut across on the fold. Once that fold is cut off, I can open these two sides up, and now what I have is a 14-foot strip, double wide. I folded this 14-foot length in half again. I stitched down one side and cut across the bottom where the fold was to open it up. Once I had it about the size I liked, I trimmed all 4 sides of this project. Well, this is a great way for me to have used up those scraps left over from cutting my pre-cuts. This is going to make just a cute baby quilt size. I hope this gives you another idea on what to do with your leftovers. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope to see you back again real soon.